and then we can look at what we have very quickly. So are people able to share their screen? So we're taking the lead so we can quickly run through this.
I joined in with my phone, so I would have to put my PC on and try to log in with my PC to be able to do
Okay.
that. That will take a while.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for that. Chinenye, are you on your system?
Hi, Muhsin. Happy New Year.
Hello. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Today is 27th.
I mean, we've not said Happy New Year to ourselves. Yeah. I'm having a bit of power issues. My light
Okay.
is my laptop is gone, so
Nigerian factor.
I can't share now.
Okay, no problems. Who else raised the hand? Was that Mayowa? Are you on your system, Mayowa?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, ma.
Okay, so I just tried to, when I wanted to do it again, I just had to understand what I wanted to do first. Understanding the real, what should I call it? Is it the business case, like what I want to do? So I think that helped. What happened that day was because maybe the rush. So when I settled down to work on it later, it became easier, kind of. So I don't think I really have any other issues with it. I tried.
Yeah, but do you have the file with you? Are you able to share your screen so we can see what you did eventually?
Okay. Let me see.
It's nothing too serious. It's just so we see what you did, the approach, and then people can learn from it.
Let me share the first one. That hotel bookings, it was Excel that I later used. I don't even use Power BI because I was already having too many Power BI projects. So I tried to do that on Excel.
Okay, that makes sense. So when you're ready to share, let me know.
I'm trying to open my Excel.
Your Excel, right? Okay. Said, your hand is up.
Yeah, good afternoon once again. I would love to share what we did, the dream logistic, what I had it, and what we have now.
Okay, please go on to share your screen.
Can we view that?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Oh, I think this even the second part. Firstly, this is the second one. Let me try to open the one that I did. Sorry, this is not what I really did. Sorry about that.
Alhaji Musa, you are welcome, sir. Who is OJ Beauty 01?
Good afternoon, sir. It's Jemina.
Okay, good afternoon, ma. How are you, ma? I wanted to be sure that we don't have some invasion.
Oh, no.
How come?
Hello.
Hello. Okay, this is Mayowa screen, right?
Can you see?
Yes, I can. Okay, this interesting. What's your approach to this? Where's the data set?
What do you say?
So what's your approach to this? Where's the data set?
Okay, the data set. Let me see.
Is the data set on a separate file?
I can't hear you.
I said, is the data set on a separate file or you eat the worksheet?
Okay, the data set is there. It should be there. Let me see. Okay.
Yes. So I can only see sheet 1. So I'm asking, is the
Yes,
data
I'm
set
seeing
on a
yours now.
separate file?
Yes, I think that's what happened. I'm not even sure. Let me look for the data set should be here. How did you do?
What did I say this thing?
Should be okay, I think this is it.
Okay.
This is it. I don't know. I don't think so. That one had all my. Let me look for you. That one had all the pivot tables that I did.
Okay. So so that we don't take so much of the time, just tell us your approach today. So now what you've done is your data set is on another file and you have the report on a separate file. So what was your approach? How did you achieve that?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
Okay, so what I asked is, what was your approach to achieve this? You have your data set on a separate file, your report is on another file.
No, I don't think I did everything together. I don't know why I have just a sheet here. I don't know what happened. But I know I did it. I had like 4 sheets. I had 2 sheets for the pivot tables and then the main Excel sheet and then this. So I don't know why I'm
Okay.
having just a sheet now.
Oh, okay. So they have kidnapped some worksheets. You need to
I
pay
don't know.
ransom.
I don't know what happened. But I know I had 4 sheets originally when I did it. So I don't know what happened.
Okay, that's fine. So now this is a point of learning. So everybody look at what has happened. I want us to think around it this way. So let's assume that what Mayowa did was that the data set was on another file and the report is on this file. Would it have been possible to get the report to stay this way? Is it possible to create a report in Excel that such that your data set would be on the separate Excel workbook? Anyone has come across or has done something like that before?
I don't think so. I don't know what happened, bro.
Has anyone done something like that before?
Not at all.
At all.
Okay, no. Okay, so now we'll be noting that. So that's the point of learning too. So we can have a, I don't know, maybe in a way, we might be having a session specifically on Excel on how to build reports in Excel. So it is very possible that you have your data set in so many separate files and you are able to connect to individual data sets and it's only your report that stays on another workbook. That's very possible. So that's a case study that we're going to explore in this series of learning. So our coordinators are here. I know that Tomisi is probably attending to something. Who is our deputy again? Our assistant or our chief coordinator, female?
I am here, sir.
Sorry, is that Bilkis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Bilkis,
Should
please
I
let's
stop
begin to
sharing?
note that. Yes, ma. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So Tiami, you can share your screen. So which means that we have agreed one of the things that we need to learn is to see how we explore a case study on how to build reports in Excel. So it doesn't have to always be Power BI, because the truth is that when you see some job descriptions, they tell you that they need somebody who knows Power BI, knows Excel, knows Python, knows SQL, knows Power BI, Tableau. They list all of those nonsense there. But eventually, when you get on the job, you might just be doing Excel 80% of your time. So it just makes sense that we have a very holistic view. We have a proper understanding of how we can manage our reports in Excel. So that is very important. So we'll have a session on that. So let's have Tiami, do you have your report up now?
Not not yet. I'm working on
Not
that.
yet. Okay, no worries. So what we're trying to look at before orders came in, I know that a couple of persons just joined us, which is that we're looking at what you've worked on from the boot camp till this time. So what are some of the things that you probably, from where we stopped the case study, were you able to continue working on that? Were you able to do something extra? That's what we're looking at. And Maya was showing us what she did in Excel. So if you have something to show, you can bring it up. Let's look at it. Let's have her review points. If you have some specific questions, we can ask. So today is just we setting the pace majorly, not really that we are doing so much of work today. So that is that's it majorly. So yeah, somebody mentioned that she was trying to get the file on the system. Okay, I think that was Abiba. So Chinaya, you can go for now.
Yes, I did mention that. So I put on my laptop now, but there's no light. So the battery was kind of like going down drastically. So I just took a
Okay.
screenshot. I don't know if that's going to work, but
Yeah, you can drop that on the chat. It's just for us to have a look, and then if you have some specific questions, you can ask.
okay, I'll drop that.
All
Yes.
right. Yeah, Chinaya, please go on.
Hi, Muhsin. Okay, so I wanted to ask a question, right? But I think the question should come maybe later after everybody has shown their work. It's regarding data modeling, because I had serious issues while I was working on the data set. I had serious issues with data modeling, especially where we had to pinpoint the reporting keys.
Okay.
Yeah, I had serious issues there, and it affected my what's it called? It affected everything about the data set and all. So I just wanted to
Okay.
point it out and then ask questions later. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. No worries at all. Okay, any other person has something to show us? Okay, so let me check the charts. Okay, nothing on the chart yet. All right, so in the meantime, Chinaya, I think you can go on with your questions. Let's address that. And
Okay, yeah. Let me see if I'll be able to share my phone screen. I have what's it called? The Power BI mobile. So
okay.
I'm trying to see if I'll be able to share it. Ah, shit.
But with the Power BI mobile, you won't be able to show your model.
I think but I can
Except
show
if you
the what's
sign
it
in on
called? The
the service.
visualization.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Let me see if I'll be able to do that with this. I think somebody is sharing their screen. Not working.
Okay, this side screen.
That's me sharing. That's the first thing we did in class. That's the first one.
Okay, this is the first one, right?
I just dropped the file. I'm not sure if it got delivered.
Nothing is on the chat yet.
I'll try
At least for me, I can't see it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so Chineye, please, maybe you try share your screen now. I think Said is not ready, so that's we can. Mr. Said, are you ready now? Looks like your screen keeps coming up and going off.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Here is my screen.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, so this was not what we displayed earlier at the boot camp. So I have to do some touches to it. My navigation going back to the home page, going back to the insight. Likewise, doing some changes in the steps. So that was why I showed the first thing that we displayed at the boot camp before doing this. So, and working with this as well. So I have to just
sorry, Said. Someone took over your screen for the moment. So your screen is down. Okay. You need to reshare. People have powers here.
Okay. Share. So I didn't delete the first thing we did in class, so as to just keep working on. Which one is that?
So Said, I meant we can't see your screen anymore.
Yeah, I'm sharing again. Yeah. So can you now see my screen now?
Yes, I can. So what you touched on this is majorly on the visualization, right? Rearranging stuff and adding some buttons.
Yes, visualization. I did some touches with visualizations.
Okay, so the touches you give to this, what inspired there?
Without you going through the what's it called, the two keys, you can just navigate back, and I try to modernize my dashboard. Like I try to make it look much more attractive and unique.
Okay, that's good. So like I said, if you have specific question you can ask, but if there are no questions specifically, it's good that I've seen this, and I know for a fact that would have a session, maybe a 2-3 hour session that would address visualization generally. So there are a couple of things that we may want to do that we need to keep in mind whenever we are coming up with our visuals per se. So, but this excellent work, well done on this. Yeah, so if you have any specific question you can ask before I go on to somebody else.
No, I don't have any question.
Okay, that's good. So thanks a lot for sharing this, Said. Mayowa, your hand is up.
Sir, I've been unable to send a file here, so I sent a screenshot on WhatsApp. I mean, it's
okay,
like giving me an error whenever I try sending the image, and I do not know why.
Is that a security feature? Yes, it should be. But you published the report to your personal workspace on the developer account.
No, I haven't published it.
Okay, so is this the actual Power BI file that you took the screenshot from? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at that on the phone. But I saw one earlier. Okay, that was sides. Okay. So is this similar to what was submitted by your team? Yeah, Abiba?
Oh yeah, so not exactly. It is. I mean, we use the same. It's the same data set, right? But there are a lot of improvements done to those particular
Okay,
data.
could you point out one or two of those improvements?
So I think the main issue we had during the case study was the dates, working
Okay.
around dates, and how large the data set was and all that. So I was able to handle that with this, and I was able to bring in a better visualization because when we presented I really can't see this. I think the reasons for delay, yeah, when we presented the reasons for delay initially, security was missing, and I really do not know how that happened, right? But
Okay.
for this particular dashboard, everything is complete, and yeah.
Okay. So besides the visualization, did you work on the model?
Yes, I did. I did. I worked on the model, and I also did some DAX formula because it's a dynamic title. Some of the titles
Okay.
there are unique, so
So essentially, when there are inconsistency in data, some things are missing when you expect that they should be there. It's a modeling issue. That's why
right.
I asked. Yeah. So when you fix your model properly,
Oh, so I
data
think
would fall. Go on.
right. So sorry for cutting you short. Yes, go on.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay, so I think what we were trying to do initially, we were following a wrong format for the reasons. For the reasons, well, we're trying to unpivot when
Okay.
we're working on the data set. Then last year, we were trying to unpivot, then import it to the on pivots, then visualize, right? So on pivoting was kind of disrupting everything. So I figured out that we really do not need to unpivot the column itself. We could just do that straight up. We could just visualize that. So that was another issue we faced back then that I was able to resolve.
Okay, that's pretty excellent. I suppose it was because of the condition you had to work at the time. That was why you weren't able to figure it out at the boot
Right,
camp. Yeah,
right.
which is actually the advantage of having to sit back to look at some of those projects again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, excellent work, Abiba. Well done on that. Let me quickly have I say two hands up. Maiwa, you have something to say to us briefly. Those of us that we came late, we are meant to buy us what did we agree? Is it 5 liters of fuel each? People that came late. I know also, and we know ourselves. Maiwa, please let's have you quickly.
Okay, I said I found the original file, so I don't know if you still want me to share.
Okay, in a moment. Let me listen to Abdul Samad. I see his hand up as well.
Good afternoon, Mr. Muhsin.
Good
And
afternoon,
everyone.
Mr.
Good afternoon.
Abdul Samad.
Nice to be back. And feel among with my guys. So
Yes,
yeah.
your
So
voice.
also the data modeling. I would
Okay.
like to ask, is it always a must to break the assuming we're having one big table, like is it a must to break it down to fact and dimension tables? And even if the dimension tables have one column each, like is it a must, or we can just work with that big table? Because I'm always having issues with that. Because in some data set that I work with, like some tables are having like one column, and I'm not really sure, like, okay, should I go on with that or something like that? So that's my question.
So on a high level, if I would answer that question, normally we should always break off a big table. And the reason is that way you'll be able to eliminate redundancy. What does redundancy mean? On that big table now, you have a column. Let's say you have a column for region. You have a column for region which has only 6 unique items, just 6 unique items there in that column. But because you have it in a big table, every single record will have a region assigned to it, which means that, excuse me, eventually, if you have 1 million records on that big table, you would have things that are meant to be just 6, you have them repeated up to 1,000,000 times, which is one of the redundancy that you want to eliminate. Because the truth is, when you have so much redundancy like that on your data model, it blows out your file. You may not feel the impact immediately. So I've worked on data set that runs into hundreds, millions of records. So in that wise, you're plugging into a single table from the source. I'm very sure you don't want to bring that into Power BI the way it is. So because 100 million rows of record might give you about sometimes if you look at the file size, the Power BI file size, it might be about 900 or something megabyte, or sometimes even 1 gigabyte of file size. Imagine how long it will take you to load that if you're using a system of say 16 gigram, even 24 gigram or 32 gigram system, it will still take you a while to open that file, to load it, to refresh, do some stuff. So it's always advisable to break off your table. That is some of the best practice because you expect that your data would grow. Even if you're starting with very little amount of data, it still will grow eventually, and then things might blow out. So it's very much advisable. But when you break out your table, you observe that some columns they are the only one in that column. It has to do nothing. It has nothing to do with any other columns. In that wise, you have a decision to make. But the first thing is such dimension that has just a single table, just a single column within the dimension table is called junk dimension in data modeling. That's what they call it. Junk, like you're eating junks. Junk dimension. So junk dimension is just a dimension that does not necessarily have a sister or something that's attached to it, that they are of the same hierarchy or they are of the same level per se, that they can come together in a single dimension table. So, but when you have that, you have one of two options. An option might be that you shouldn't create a dimension table for it. Leave it in the facts table since it's the only one that is there, because you know that you want to reduce redundancy. If you break that off, you have probably 5 unique records. You will still need to retain it in your facts table to connect so that a relationship can be established, which means that instead of you being able to reduce redundancy, you've actually added to redundancy, if you think about it. Because now you would have more occurrence of the items in that table, you have more occurrence of them because it now exists on a standalone dimension table. At the same time, it exists on the fact table. The second option you have, so that's the first option, which is retain it in the facts table. Second option you have is have it sit on a dimension table if you are thinking futuristically. There might be a need to add some other dimensioning elements to that particular dimension. Let's say, for instance, now we're still talking about region. So at the moment, it seems like region is the only location attributes that we have on our facts table. And so if it sits on a dimension table, it creates, it forms what we call junk dimension. But now that we have it as the only column, we are thinking the business eventually, maybe in a year time, 2 years or thereabouts, they might want to start reporting by other location attributes, maybe now coming down to the level of state, local government, or whatever it is. So if that is the case, you might want to retain it in a dimension table, because you know that in the near future, there will be other columns that will come into it. So those are the two cases. I hope I answered your question, Abdul Samad.
Yes. But okay. What's it called? Going back to the first option. Now retaining that dimension. What's it called? Column in the fact table. As time goes on, you're like, okay, now you don't like what's it called? You don't really. You're not trying to what's it called? Think about the future, right? At the moment, like, assuming the table is a large table, so and dimension column still what's it called, being retained in the fact table, won't it affect my my visualization and the likes at the end of the day?
No, it won't affect your visualization. So the way to think about it is this. The major reason why you're creating a data model, one of the key things is to manage redundancy. That's one of the key things. Your visualization, yes, is dependent partly on how your model is structured. But if you're reporting, just think about it. The same report that you build off a properly structured data model, you're having fact and dimension files everywhere. If you build similar report on the single table that came from the source, single flat table, large table that came from the source, you probably would experience almost the same thing on visualization side. The only difference is that there might be a bit of lag when it comes to performance. So now it might be one of the things that we look at, which is eventually we might have a session on how to manage performance issues when it comes to you working in Power BI, because eventually at some point you may be working on very large data set, and then you need to be able to trace performance issues and how to manage them. And at the same time, you need to understand what could cause some performance issues. But if you look at it from the perspective of, say, you have a data that is running into, let's say, even up to 1 million records, retaining a dimension item or column in the facts table may not make so much of a difference, really. Although when you analyze performance, the one that is broken out into a data model, it's of course would be much better than what you have in your facts table, the one that you have in the facts table. There may be a difference of some milliseconds or up to some seconds on the way it renders on your visual, but that shouldn't be much of an issue for now. So that's why I gave both options. But again, it's not a crime if you still have it as a standalone column. But me, I won't do that, except I have an idea that in the near future, I might have some other attribute added to it. Do you understand the scenario? But again, in this series, we'll agree. Some things have been agreed before you guys came in, but in this series, we'll agree fully what the sessions will be like. So now we've identified that we need a session on Excel, reporting in Excel. Data modeling might be something we want to look at more holistically as well. I have a full session on data modeling, and so all of our concerns can be addressed in that session as well. Make sense?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Chineye. Sorry, Mayo, I'll come to you in a minute.
Yeah, I'm still on this question that Samad asked. How do I put it? With all this scenario you painted, right? I don't know if I should call it live data, but does this play into when you have like live data? When I mean live data, I mean data that is running. Take for instance, maybe which company do I use? Netflix. If you get what I mean.
I stopped hearing you, Chineye.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So what I had last was, which company should I use?
Oh, okay. So I'm saying with all this scenario you painted with data modeling and how it reduces redundancy and all, does it play does it play the same role when making use of live data? That is data that just keeps coming in, and I don't know. I don't know the right words to use, because I'm seeing data modeling playing its role well in historical data, because most of this data we are working with, I'm thinking, or I'm seeing them as historical data. But what about when we have data that
you are
is
streaming
live?
Like you are streaming the data set, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me take it this way. Number one is, in what scenarios would an organization want to stream data? Majorly, what comes to head quickly is maybe the organization works with some IoT devices. So an IoT device might be attached to, let's say they attach it to a car, for instance, now, like a tracking device. So which means at every seconds or milliseconds, the tracker as an IoT device, it will send information about whatever it has been configured to send, which might be the location of the car at the moment, maybe some things around temperature, whatever information we want to track from the car. So it will be sending it at intervals, maybe every second, maybe every minute. The data as it is must be first directed to a database. So you cannot stream data straight up from the device into your Power BI. It's not possible. So what you would do is the data would need to get to a database. Maybe the database is it might be a PostgreSQL or an Azure SQL database. It has to be a database that is sitting on the cloud. So you're streaming the data into the database. And if the data engineers have done excellent work, I mean excellent work, they have done their work well, the data that is coming from whatever source into the database must now be pipelined to a data warehouse. So let me tell you the gist here. I want to explain this. Let me try to explain this in 5 minutes. So this is what happens. Organizations generally would have a system that they use to execute their processes. So let's say now we have a system like, what system can I use? So you enter into a store. A store, they would have what's the English? They have a system that they use to track whatever sales. So there will be a cashier or whatever the person is. They're entering the details of sales into the system. Whatever details they are entering is going to a source. Is going channel to a source. So you bought 5 loaves of bread, coffee, whatever it is, that goes into a source. The source that it goes into, let's assume the source is a SQL database. What normally would happen is the way the source is built, the source is built and optimized for fast writes. There are 2 things that can happen. So we have CRUD operations generally. So CRUD operations, maybe we've heard of that, is create, read, update, delete. Those are CRUD operations. So those are the general operations that happen on databases. But when we talk about databases on a more granular level, there are 2 major things that happen on there after creation, which is you are either writing to the database or you are reading from the database. So what normally would happen is when you are using an operational system to send data to a source, the system, the database will be optimized for fast writes. What do you mean by for fast write? It means that we optimize the source such that we would be able to write into it efficiently and there is no lag. So 5 people, we have 5 salespeople, they're entering data on their system at the same time. There shouldn't be queues, or there should be a way we manage queues when it comes to, okay, data A, record A has come, another cashier sends records B, another cashier sends record C, almost instantaneously at the same time. We want to manage how the data gets into the database without crashing the database. So that is we optimizing the database for fast writes. But that particular database that we are writing into, what normally happens is that in some businesses, the major reason why you would usually see that when you request data as an analyst, they send you a CSV file, or they send you an Excel spreadsheet, or they export the data for you in a text file. The reason is that the database, the only database they have has been optimized for fast writes. If they allow you as an analyst to connect directly to query that database, you are going to cause problem for the database because the database has not been optimized to manage both scenarios. Somebody is writing into it, somebody wants to read from it. That might crash the database. And that's why sometimes you get to hear that, okay, there's downtime, the database is not responding, there are issues, all of those errors. So what would happen in that scenario is, as the data gets into the source, they have an option to always export the data for you. So when you need data as an analyst, they export the data. And that's what they use SSIS for in some businesses. If you know SSIS, if you have some time, it might be something you want to explore later. So now, they export that data for you so that you have an independent spreadsheet that you can always connect to. Another option is that as the data enters into the database, the data has been written into the database, the data engineer creates a pipeline that runs into another database, usually a data warehouse, that is optimized for fast read, fast retrieval, which is as soon as you query the database, you are getting the data that you need as quickly as possible. That is a database being optimized for fast read. So the pipeline normally will now run at specific times. So if it is a banking business or a business where they work with probably they work with businesses that get to what's it called, that produces maybe ATM cards or whatever it is, they would have schedules for when the pipeline should run. It might be 12 a.m. in the midnight that whatever data came in yesterday that was written into database A yesterday should all now flow through the pipeline to the data warehouse that the analyst will query the next day. So in essence is that what I'm coming back to your question is that, excuse me, coming back to your question is, what normally happens is that the same way that you should have your data model already structured on your own file, that is how the data model would have been structured in the data warehouse. So you already have individual dimension files, dimension tables, which is as the log data is coming, excuse me, it's just the word I hear. So as the log data is coming, you get to, the pipeline will split data based on certain criteria that the actual metric, the numbers that you have should go into the facts table. The key is this. It has a way of splitting that record and they go into separate tables within the data warehouse. And when you as an analyst, you are connecting to such database, you are connecting to all of those tables, dimension and fact, independently. And you are bringing them into your model. So the only thing you are doing on your model is just to create relationship. And if it is properly built, it might even be able to detect the relationship. So that is the scenario. That is how it should normally happen. But if it doesn't happen that way, if on the data warehouse side, you still have a very big flat table there, you bring it in, but you should still model it. Model it for performance sake. So because if you're querying that large table and then you're bringing everything into your model like that, again, there'll be so many redundancy. There are things you might deal with when it comes to performance issues. Those are some of the things that hopefully we'll be able to have some sessions around them. But I think, I don't know if this makes sense a bit. Is Chineye still here with us?
Oh yeah. It made sense. Yeah.
Okay. So I've answered your question. I know, is that the question you said you had on data modeling, or there's still something else?
No, I mean it connects to the question because
Samad asks, right?
Yes, because like I said, I tried my hands on. I tried afresh. I tried starting all over again, but I had this issue with identifying the reporting key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, based on the lower granularity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how
Okay.
do we get to understand, or when you see a data set, how do you get to know, okay, after choosing the reporting lines, and then how do you get to arrange them based on their hierarchies? What should a data set have that should tell you, okay, this and this should be in the same hierarchy, this and this should be in the same hierarchy, okay, this should be a standalone. And then from there, how are you able to pick out the reporting keys from those hierarchies?
Okay. Thanks a lot for that question. So I wouldn't want to treat that too in depth, because I believe we should have a session on data modeling per se, so that, because there are a lot more to data modeling than just creating fact and dimension. There are a lot more things to do. But when it comes to identifying the key, the first thing is, before you can identify the key, you must have identified things that are related. We have a data set, for instance. The data set that we have might be, let's say it's a sales data set. On the sales data set, there will be elements speaking to customer as an entity. There will be elements speaking to product as an entity. There will be elements speaking to maybe some things around, I don't know, salespeople as an entity. So which means we have something around customers, we have something around product, we have something around the people within the organization who have attended to those sales. So the first thing we have to do is to identify individual sub-elements within those categories. So customers now on that data set, what are the things that speak to customers? You need to identify them. What are the things that speak to product? So it might be product name, might be product ID, might be product subcategory, might be product category. All of those are around product color, texture, whatever it is. Those things that talk to products, you put them together. Then those things that talk to people, you put them together as well. Now, for us to understand which one will be the key. So what we need to do is look at the product, for instance, now, all attributes of products. So we have product ID, we have product key, product ID, we have product name, we have product category, we have product subcategory, we have product color. So then you ask yourself the question, if I know product color, if I know the color of a particular product, so let's say somebody tells me that the product is green. That's what somebody told me. The product is green. Will I be able to know the product's name with that information? Is it possible? You ask yourself. If it's not possible, then that means that is not the lowest thing in that category. The lowest thing has to be something that once I know it, I would be able to access every other attribute in that category. That's the lowest thing. So let's pick something that is very close to us. So in Nigeria, we have country, we have region, we have state, we have local government. Let's say then we have probably LCDA. If somebody tells me that Chinenye is from the south region of the country, will I be able to know Chinenye's state? I won't be able to. I'll just be guessing. So, okay, maybe she's from Akwa Ibom, or maybe she's from Rivers, or maybe she's from, I'm just guessing. But if someone tells me that Chinenye is from Akwa Ibom State, will I be able to know the LCDA Chinenye is from? It's still not possible because within Akwa Ibom State, you might have as many as 19 local government, you might have as many as 30 something LCDA. So the lowest thing here that I need to know for me to get every other information might be that I need to know the LCDA. So once I know the LCDA that Chinenye lives in, I would immediately be able to know that, okay, she stays at Abak local government. So which means she is from Akwa Ibom State, which means she's from South, which means she's a Nigerian. So that's how it flows. So the key has to be the least thing. What is that least thing within that category that once I know it, I would be able to trace out every other attribute within that data set. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that is how to look at this. But I believe we need a full session on data modeling. If you agree to that, Mr. Toba, thanks a lot for joining us. Okay, I believe maybe if people have other questions around there, we can quickly check it. Mayowa, let's get to you very quickly. Is Mayowa still here? Okay, so any other person with any specific question? So like I said when we started, today is more of just answering questions and then planning out what the session is. So while I wait for other questions, we already agreed at the start that we'll be having a session on we would explore a case study on how to create reports in Excel. That is pretty essential. Then I think I figured that we need a session on data modeling. So now, if there are other specific areas, please let's quickly unmute so that we say what other areas you would want us to look at. So we have, this is January, so which means practically we have maybe 10 meetups, 10 sessions we'll be having together. So give or take, because we have till December. By December, by next year, there will be another cohort. Although for the last one, maybe for some reasons, they want to still continue. So it might not be as frequent, but hopefully we are still able to hold some things for them. So, but now, if you have other specific areas, let's point those out. Yes, Esther, please go on.
Hi, Hussein. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's going to be important if we can explore Power BI service, because I don't know for I've been building reports or getting to build dashboards or putting our reports together on Power BI service to get a dashboard has been quite challenging. Maybe because I've not. It would be nice. So I think on it just to tackle it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Power BI service. That's yeah, I agree. That is very much important because even beyond creating dashboards on the service, there are a lot more things you can do on the service, a lot more things that you can do on the service. So which might be some requirements that you get whenever you want to you are building reports for the business. So yes, it's important we explore that. So I believe our coordinators are noting that. So we have Excel, we have modeling, we have Power BI service. So others, please let's speak to some other areas that you would want us to. It might not fully be about Power BI. Like I remembered we had a chart wherein we said that somebody will be taking us on SQL. I think I remember. So that might be an area that we want to fix it for a month, and then we see how we can explore that together as well. Said.
Power Fabric as well.
Okay, Fabric. So, but the problem with Fabric is that yes, it's good. We can explore a bit of Fabric, but the challenge at the moment is I learned that Fabric trial will be ending in February. So which means that except for people that would now buy licenses, we may not be able to practice. And but we'll see. Let's see if maybe there will be some exception for those that already have Fabric trial. Maybe that can be extended a bit, but the Fabric session will be dependent on the availability of our access actually to the portal. So if you still have access, then we can look at having to do something on Fabric. Yeah.
So it's fine. So we'll be having three sections, which is the Excel, the SQL, and Power BI.
Yeah, so not necessarily three sessions like that. So for Power BI, yeah, so for Power BI, we already identified two areas: data modeling and Power BI service. So two areas in Power BI. So which means Power BI already takes 2 months. Excel, for now, we've identified, we just want to walk through a case study. So it might just be a month, except if we want to do some other interesting stuff in Excel. So we might want to run Excel in 2 months as well. SQL, we may not be able to finish it in a month, except it depends on the area we want to get to. So if you just want to explore the basics, so we want to do some aggregation, do some joins, some select statements, some predicate filtering. Yeah, we may be able to do that in a class. But if we want to go beyond, do some subqueries, do some cities and stuff, we may need to do it in 2 sessions too. But it's just good that we identify awesomely the areas we want to touch. Then our boss, Pelumi, would work with the coordinators to have an outline of how this would run. So we know specifically each month what are we looking through. But I see that eventually we may want to split all of them out into 10 or 11 so that would run till November or December, as the case may be. Okay, Jamina, I see your hand up.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add that here we can include mastering of DAX as well. Seems to be
DAX. Okay. Let me think about it. All right, that would be an interesting area to look at as well. Yeah, DAX. So which means Power BI, modeling, service, and DAX. Thanks a lot for that. Abiba.
Yeah, I was going to say DAX as well.
Okay.
But aside that, I have a question. So
Okay.
earlier you talked about SSIS, said something about SSIS. So as a data analyst, should one build his or her SSIS skills, because I've worked with SSIS. I've created pipeline on SSIS, linking it to MSSS,
Yeah.
MSSMS. Yeah. So I know how
SSMS.
vast. Yes, thank you. SSMS. So I know how vast the tool is, and at some point I was looking to explore other sections of the tools, and also I don't know, what would you advise? Should I go ahead with that, or it's just not necessary?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, for those of us that we don't know about SSIS, when we talk about Microsoft BI stack, so what Microsoft started with as their BI stack, within the BI stack, we have SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. SSIS is SQL Server Integration Services. SSAS is SQL Server Analysis Services. SSRS is SQL Server Reporting Services. And we have the SSMS, which is the SQL Server Management Studio, to manage your SQL database. So that is essentially the Microsoft BI stack at the onset. So what happens is that you have the SSMS to manage the database side of things, how your tables are structured, the ER diagram. So ER is the enterprise entity relationship diagram, which is more like the diagram you see on the modeling side of Power BI. But that is how the tables are related on the database, the primary, the foreign key, and all of those things. Then we have the SSIS, which is majorly for data migration per se. That's what people use it mostly for. So you want to migrate data from SSMS to other sources, or from other sources to SSMS. But it's beyond the migration as a whole. You are able to do ETL in between. So you have extracted all of those transformations, most of them that you can do on Power Query, you can do it in between on the fly before the data gets into the destination. SSAS is the modeling side of things for the BI stack, which is with SSAS, you are able to build a data model. You write your DAX within SSAS as well. So the published model is what you're now connecting to your SSRS, which is the reporting tool. So reporting SSRS is what somehow gets is somehow related to paginated reporting now in Power BI. So if you know paginated reporting in Power BI, which is just to say that you want to build printable reports, that's what it means. So you want your reports to be printable in PDF format or whatever it is, all the pixels in place, and then things just look nice and fine. So because the way Power BI renders its own report is not really presentable when you print it. So just give it a try. Go and export your report into PDF. You see that it doesn't look as nice as it should, or it is on the service or on your desktop. So, but if you build your report in as a paginated report, you would have it very nice and well. That is a replica of SSRS. So for SSIS, normally, people that are on the data engineering side, they are meant to know it very well. They have options. Sometimes you want to do your data migration using Python, using whatever programming tool. But again, if you want a drag and drop interface that works within the Microsoft ecosystem, you can use SSIS to achieve that. As an analyst, I may not want to say 100% that you should put in all your effort into that. Number one reason is this. Except for organizations that typically run on premise for now, which is mostly banks. If you're working with bank, you most likely will be working more on on-premise architecture. On-premise means that the majority of the infrastructure is not hosted in the cloud. So they have it within a private network within the organization. So such organizations will still be using SSIS. And that's so for most part in recent times, guys in the data space that I know that they use SSIS day in, day out. There are people, one of them worked with Sterling Bank, is left now. I think another was with Echo Bank at a time. So it's mostly banks. And it's because the majority of customers' data in the bank are not hosted on the cloud. They are hosted within the private network within the organization. And so you need, if you're doing some data migration, you might need to use SSIS majorly for that. So, but like I mentioned, that is meant to be a core for data engineers. It's not meant to be for an analyst per se, but it's a good addition, to be honest with you, because one of the very popular career progression now is to start as an analyst and then you're tending towards being an engineer. So it might be a good addition. And again, it's because of the convolution in the way the workspace, the work environment is at the moment. You might get to work with a firm that tells you that you are coming in as an analyst, but when you get in, that's when you realize that you are the all-round data person. You are the one that will be building your pipeline yourself. You'll be doing whatever migration yourself. You'll be building reports yourself. You're doing modeling yourself. You are doing the data architecture, everything within it yourself. So if you have some of those skill sets, it will come in handy and then you'll be under less pressure. So it's good to have, but I don't think it should be a major focus for analysts having to invest your entire time into that. I don't know if that answers your question a bit.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so any other person, question, or any other areas you want us to focus on in this series? So somebody is asking here, what's the question? These SSIS, MS, RS, are they software apps like SQL Server? Yes, they are. So SSMS, so this is it. SSMS has a standalone installation. You install, you go to you go to Google, you download SQL Server, which is the server engine that has to be installed. You download SSMS, which is the graphical interface that you use to interact with the server or interface with the server. So that's for SSMS. For SSIS, AS, and RS, they come in as extensions for Visual Studio. So Microsoft has Visual Studio, and they have Visual Studio Code. There are two different interfaces. Visual Studio Code is just more like your environment for writing code. So the same coding environment that you have on Notepad++, or maybe your JVM, Java, Brain, something, I've forgotten what that means. So interface for writing your code, that is Visual Studio Code. So you can write your Python code there, your Java, your C#, whatever code in there. But Visual Studio is an interface to build data projects and other projects. So there are a lot of projects you can build within that interface. So when you download your Visual Studio, for you to now do SSIS, SSRS, and SSAS, you need to now install those extensions. So Visual Studio has hundreds of extensions. So you now need to install those extensions. And once you have them installed, you now have the option to go in there and now build an SSIS project or SSAS project or SSRS project. I don't know if that answers your question. So any other person, any other thing on this before we start to wrap up? Okay, I don't think we have any other thing. So like I mentioned, this is more like a planning session. So we have agreed a couple of things, which I believe that our coordinators have noted. So what I would expect from our coordinators, please, is that, so whatever we have noted now, I know we spoke about some things on Power BI, Excel, SQL. So if there are other suggestions, please, everyone on the call, let's pass them on to our coordinators, and our coordinators will split them into 11 sessions. And so every single month we know what we're treating. And then my work with Boss Pelumi will now be that we need to now see who will come facilitate those sessions. So apparently, I won't be the one facilitating most of our sessions. A couple of times I may be available to come in, but I may not be available to facilitate all the sessions. But sometimes it might be Toba that will come, might be Sadiq, it might be some people external that we don't probably know that will come in, but we'll try as much as possible to get us the best people that will come and do individual subjects, and then so that we can maximize our time here. So I just want to say that we should try as much as possible to maximize this opportunity. It's something that we know. Yes, people pay for something like this, but I've seen it to be part of our responsibility. We are taking it as part of our responsibility to, in our own capacity, give back to the community and see how we can assist ourselves to greatness. So that is the whole essence of this. So let's not take it for granted. If the class is starting 2 p.m., we'll start 2 p.m. We won't wait for anybody. I know that a couple of us will join in very lately today. Abu Qadir, let me have you quickly, and I'm hoping that by 3:30 we will round this call up.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, sir.
I have a suggestion about visuals. Like
Okay.
there are some visuals that I don't really know how to use in Power BI, like maybe like the maps. There are some advanced visuals, and just maybe you can just have a brief class on it and what these things, the capabilities of these visuals.
Okay, excellent. So maybe we should have a session or two on visualization as a whole, because when it comes to custom visual, even it's a different exploration on its own. So because they have a lot of capabilities, and it takes people that have used some custom visuals to be able to guide us to how we can make use of them and what are the best in the marketplace. So when you go into the marketplace, you see a lot. You might not be able to figure out what will be best for certain scenarios. So we'll see what our schedule will be like, but I agree we should have a session on visualization. If our session would permit more than that, maybe we'll split it into two. So there will be a session that looks at visualization best practices. Then there will be another session that will look at custom visuals as a whole. But I agree it's something that we need to do. Can we work towards a PL 300 certificate? That's possible, but I'm not sure that the sessions will be fully attuned to that. And the simple reason is that because we are not doing only Power BI. So if you want to guide us towards PL 300, it might mean that Power BI is the only thing that we'll do till the end of the year. Which I believe not everybody has a focus for certification. It might not be what everybody wants to do. What we may just want to do is when we have in some of the Power BI related sessions, you may want to come up with some questions. And I want to assume that before those sessions, you have started studying the learning track for PL 300. And so whatever gray areas you have, you can, of course, come into the session with those areas. All right. So vouchers, we have people on the call that can sponsor your vouchers, right? So there are so many rich people here. Any other thing that we want to add to this? Okay. Boss Toba, I have you here. Please let's have you talk to us in some minutes. Advise us. How can we make money this year?
Can you listen?
You sound far from the microphone.
Maybe you talked about money. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we do it?
How do we do it? I think I'll need to learn from you. I'll need to learn from you. I know many ways. I know many ways, but the many ways may not be up to one of your ways. So I think I'll learn from you. So okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Well done. You've done well as usual, and so thank you for the time you've actually invested into this. So please, I would just want to advise us that we really we should not take for granted. Our time is actually money. Muhsin was talking about money, so time is actually one. So for Muhsin to be here, I know how much he would have made if he was doing his personal thing. So I just want to say we should not really take this for granted. we should really, like I said, you do well to prepare on your own before these sessions. Don't just bank on these sessions to be a key thing for your development. We can't explore it all. We have limited sessions. So that's one thing. And another thing I want to point out is looking at, we have many questions. I was wondering why did we wait for this time before we could ask these questions? The WhatsApp chats was there for things like this. Let's not just post jobs alone. I know job is very important, right? As you are seeking for jobs, if you have clarification to make on your learnings, you can drop it on the WhatsApp too. The sessions won't be for most of questions like this. It will just be tailored to what we have for the day. So I would advise, if you have questions, challenges with whatever it is you're working on, you can always drop it on the group chat. Muhsin is there. My bosses are there actually to answer questions, and where I can chip into, I would do. So please, let's not just hold on till we have these sessions. Let's from time to time drop things on that WhatsApp, so that way we can even maximize the value therein even more. So I think those are my major points, so as not to delay my August, since we have a time schedule for this. So we want to just stop here. Well done, everyone. I think that's it for me.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Toba. Thank you for being with us, availing us your time. Thank you very much. So very quickly, I see a couple of questions on the chat. How do we deal with rejections? Okay, so one thing that we did with the last cohort was that beyond the technical talks, a month was left for was this soft skill that we called it. So it was more like how do you approach job search? Is it job search they call it? How do you place yourself well for those opportunities, and how do you, of course, the question, how do you manage rejections? So that might not be an area that I would be 100% on to talk to us about, but what I can do is please, coordinators, let's add it as one of the sessions we should have. So there will be a month that we are not doing technical something. It's just we're talking about things like that. And I will see. So last year, Clarice we brought in Clarice to talk to the cohort. So that was she was the HR manager for us at the time. But this time around, we'll see if we should be able to bring in an HR professional or somebody that can actually speak to that very well. So that's an area we may want to look at. And just to what's English? I don't know. I feel tired today. So just to layer on the point Toba made, which is when you're working on something, you're stuck. If it's close to when we'll be having a monthly session, of course, yes, you can delay it. But if it's probably at the start of the month and you're not getting an answer to that, would delay your progress, please bring it on the chat and drop it there. When people are available, you may not get instant response, and we understand the reason is obvious. But when people are available, they will jump on it and assist with whatever problem we have. I don't believe that there will be a problem that doesn't have a solution. It just will need us to look deeper into it. It might not be something that will come quickly, but we just need to sit and look deeper into it. So that is about that. So I see a few hands up. Let me start the way it's numbered. So number one is Abdul Qadir. So please, let's make it very brief.
No, I have given my suggestion. I guess I didn't drop my hand after then.
Okay. Thanks for that. Chinaya, you can go.
As always, thank you so much for always. I have this question. I just need. While I was working.
I'm struggling to pick your words, Chinaya.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Better now.
Okay. So while I was working on the data set, after the data modeling and every normal step I should take, I had this issue that after I created a measure, the measure worked, but it wasn't giving the figure that it should give. I don't know if you get my question. Like, if it was supposed to give 119,000, it was giving way less than that. So after looking for where the issue would have sprung from, I did not get like a possible, how do I put it? I didn't get like any solution to it. So what do you think would have been the problem in this case?
Okay. So when it comes to measures, you're expecting a number, you're getting something else. Number one thing that you may want to check is if you are sure of what the number should be. So let's say you're sure that when you run a count on the number of records, you should get 50. But when you wrote your measure, you are getting 30. Number one thing that you need to do is first go and look at your reports. Look at the filter pane. Are there some filters applied? It's possible that there are some filters applied that is limiting that value there. That's number one. Number two is if it happens that you looked at that page and then it seemed like there is no filter, pick that visual the way it is, take it to an empty page. So add an empty page, paste that visual there. If the number is the same as what was on the original page, it means that the problem is not a filter. If the number is different, it means that there was a filter on that original page that you need to probably release so that you get the actual number. The other thing you might want to do, if that still did not work, is go and look at the way the measure is constructed. For instance, let's say you want to run a count on a particular column. You are running a count on a particular column. You used count A, for instance, and then you use count function. So there are some nuances around these functions, which is if you're running a count on a column now, and there are a few texts within that column. If you use the count function to run a count on that column, the count function would ignore all the text there. So obviously you will have a lesser number than what you expect. So when you examine such column and you see that there are few alphanumeric entities there, you may want to do a count A. But if it's an absolute count, just to get the number of records within that column, you can resort to using count rows function. So those would having to look at what the column contains might inform maybe if you should change the measure, the actual function that you're using, and maybe that will get you close to the actual number that you're expecting. That is number two. Number three is sometimes the way you construct your model would make you have some issues. Most especially when you are beginning to have bidirectional filtering on your model. So this is a very important topic that we need to talk about when we get to modeling. So sometimes you look at some models and then you are looking at bidirectional filtering everywhere. It's just everywhere. They're turning on both filters, both way filters everywhere. I can tell you for a fact, for free, that you will have issues with your numbers. It may not be so evident because not many people validate their numbers, but if you go on to validate your numbers, there will be issues with your numbers because now you're saying that the dimension table should filter the facts, and you are using your facts to filter up to another dimension or another facts table. So it brings about some ambiguities and some issues. So three things to do immediately when your numbers are not like what is expected. Pick the visual from the actual page, take it to another page. When you take it to another page, if the number differs, it means that there's a filter on the original page. Go and look for that filter. It might be a hidden slicer somewhere. It might be a filter that you have applied on the filters pane. Check that out. Number two is you might want to check the actual calculation you are running. If there are options of functions, you may want to see what are the nuances around these functions and you see which one is best for that scenario. Number three is you might be having a modeling issue. So those are the things that I would suggest that you use to troubleshoot that just very immediately. And I think that one of them should solve it really. That answers your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Esther. Esther, it's your turn. Esther, you're muted if you're speaking. Okay, maybe when the star comes up, if you have not closed them. But I can't hear Esther at all. Abdulkadir, your hand is up again. Internet. I can't pick the words. I can't even say the person talking. All microphones are muted, but I can hear some sound. So Abdulkadir, you can go for now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yes,
Just back to my previous question about this SSIS and RS, SSAS. So
correct.
you made mention of the Visual Studio and the Visual Studio Code. So I
Yeah.
just want to confirm: is it the Visual Studio the normal one that we know that you intend? Because I have the SQL Server installed alone
Okay.
and the SSMS installed alone, but is it that once one have the Visual Studio, the one like a blue logo like this, it covers for the remaining ones?
Okay. So, like I explained
Hope
there,
you got me.
yeah, you need Visual Studio to build and run SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS jobs. Those are the things you need Visual Studio for. You don't need Visual Studio for the database side of things. So SSMS would cater for the database side of things. So they are sort of disconnected in a way, although you can get a nexus eventually. But for you to run jobs, to build jobs, SQL related jobs, you need SSMS. If it is integration services jobs, reporting services, or analysis services, you will need a Visual Studio. The Visual Studio Code that you may have is the programming interface, an interface that allows you to write your programming codes. So which is similar to the text editors that we have out there, Sublime, Notepad++, and all of those text editors. I don't know if that clarifies it.
Okay. I guess it's the one I was speaking about.
So
The
the one
text
you
editor,
have is
right?
the one you are able to write codes on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that is the Visual Studio Code, which is more like the other text editors.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Then
welcome.
I also want to add, is it not better when one is done with the probably the cleaning of the data set, we can just import it into Power BI and do our reporting there?
Come again with a question.
Okay. You said we use the SSMS to manage the database. So
Correct.
when on SQL, after doing necessary cleaning and exploring what the data set, is it not better to just move to import it into Power BI and have our visualization there on Power BI?
Yeah, so this is actually dependent on the tools the organization have. So like I mentioned earlier, not all organizations want their report on the cloud, which means any organization that doesn't want their report on the cloud will not use Power BI. Because for Power BI, before users can see the report, before they can consume it, the report has to get to the cloud. So an option for people that do on-premise is that they have their reports sitting within a local area network within the business. So those organizations would prefer that you use SSRS for their reporting. So SSRS connects to your SQL Server database table. You bring the data into SSRS and you can build all of your reports in SSRS and you publish it to a reporting server. So there is a reporting server that sits on the local network that serves like your Power BI service, but now it's not connected to the external internet. Rather, it is working with an intranet. So that's what I'm saying, that it depends on the business. If your business is not using Power BI, obviously you'll not be doing Power BI. You'll be doing some other level of reporting. It might just be Excel that you'll be doing. So if the business is using the MSBI stack, then of course that's what you will be working with. So it depends on the business, and it's one thing that you need to consider too. So you don't enter into a business and then you're having loads of headache because you need to just learn so many things and start implementing on the go. So, but that's how it really is. Clear?
I understand now. Thank you so much. I guess majorly is the bank that make use of the SSIRS and SSIS that you said.
Yeah, that's the industry that I see use it majorly for now, and it's because of the data breaches and the confidentiality in the data. So some of them have this understanding that once the data gets into the cloud, most especially the most confidential data in the banks, it becomes there's a level of compromise that can happen to it. So which is what they are trying to guard against, and that's why they are having the data in the business. But it doesn't mean that banks don't have some databases hosted in the cloud, but there are certain data sets that can go into those databases. The bulk of customer data or more confidential data sit within the bank intranet.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Esther, are you able to speak now? You're the only one left with your hand
Can
up.
you hear me?
Yeah, I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you now.
me?
I can hear you.
Okay, my network was bad. What I just want to say is like a suggestion to our coordinators. Since we have limited time, like just 2 hours, for sessions that we would be using a data set, like the Excel session we'll be having, if they can send the data set prior to the class, so we can just get our hands on it and just explore before the class. So when we come for the session, nothing will be new to us and we can then ask questions. That's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, excellent suggestion there. So ideally for our coordinators, please, for February session, for instance, now we should have finalized by mid of February. So once we finalize by mid of February, most likely we'll know, we already know the session, the discussion that we'll be having. We already know who the facilitator would be. So we can liaise with the facilitator to see if there's a specific data set we'll be using. We can get it and share with us so that everybody lays their hand on the data set depending on what the conversation will be. And so that we can have a taste of that before the session, and whatever specific questions we have, we can bring it on board. So I think that would assist us a great deal. Okay, so it's already time. So we spent some 90 minutes here. Thanks a lot, everybody. Tommy Singh, are you here with us now? It's good that we hear our coordinator's voice. And Mami Bilkis.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ma. Is Tommy Singh here as well? Do you have an idea?
He was on the call earlier. I want to check again.
Okay. Okay. But please, did you get what your assignment as coordinators would be?
Yes, I did.
Okay, excellent. So please let's work closely with Pelumi, and so that we need to be reminded in a way about our sessions, because like I mentioned, the guys in the last cohort, they already mentioned that they would want a session in February, so which somehow we might have to juggle these two batches. Although I never wanted that, but for some reasons it just seemed like we may not have a choice than to juggle it. But regardless of whatever it is, a reminder is always good, so that we that are coming in to learn, we can plan our schedules properly, and we that would arrange the facilitators also, we need to get to those that will come in so they can also prioritize this. So that is very much important. So please, we'll need our support to make this work, and please let's make good use of this opportunity, and whatever it is, we hope that by the end of this, we would have so many success stories that can be attributed to this, and we hope that somehow, maybe the other session we'll be having will be physical, maybe in Canada or somewhere. All right. So, any last comment from anybody before we call it a day? All right. Thank you, everybody. Announcement. We didn't pay for this. Global Power Platform Bootcamp will be happening February. What's the date again, Pelumi? 23, 24 for Lagos.
23rd and 24th.
Yeah. So 23, 24th for Lagos. those of us in Ibadan will be having our own. It's just one day, 24th crash course. So I implore us to register. So they would also learn some things around the Power Platform stack. For Lagos, I think they might be having some sessions on Fabric as well. Hopefully, we are able to do that in Ibadan too. But it's just some of the avenue that we can use to augment our learnings as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Would see next month. Thank you.
What about Oshun people?
So Oshun, I know that last year they had it. So the coordinator was Popola, but I can get to him. So please, side, do me a message after this so that I'll get to Popola. I'll know if they have plans to host one this year. And so if they have, I can connect you guys to see how you can be a part of that. All right. So thank you, everybody. And we see next month by God's grace.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.